we working? Alright, so this is our new story. It's the world's worst teachers. There is no such thing as the world's worst teachers. We all know that we're all ace. But this is our new Purple Dragons book, and we will stick it up on the Pine Martins story time. So we have got the first story of Mr. Pett's Balls.
Ooh!
That's Mr. Pett's Balls.
Yeah. I just hope that they don't show.
I think he'll be absolutely fine. I can't see anything the matter with him. Once upon a time's table, there was a maths teacher named Mr. Pett.
Oh.
He certainly looked like a textbook maths teacher, with his wire-rimmed glasses, brown suit and comb over. However, Mr. Pett was anything but your average maths teacher. Oh no, he was one of the world's very worst teachers. That was because Mr. Pett's every waking moment was taken up with one dark obsession: balls. He had a deep loathing for them. But where did this strange fixation with spherical objects come from? Our story begins with Mr. Pett, when Mr. Pett was still a child. It is easy to forget that teachers were once children, but in most cases they were. Some babies you knew immediately were destined to be teachers because they were born with a teacherly scowl and a disapproval of their face. I don't think we're built like that, are we?
Yeah. Exactly.
So here we've got a picture of a normal baby, and then we've got a picture of a teacher baby.
Look at that. Look at that face.
As soon as he was put in his cot, baby Pett was counting the beads above his head. On your chair. Soon he was writing complex mathematical equations on the wall with his alphabet spaghetti. It was when, as a toddler, he began giving his parents algebra homework that they knew for sure their little boy was destined to be a maths teacher. One day, when Master Pett was just 10 years old, that's 2 times 5, or 7 plus 3, or 20 minus 10, or 50 divided by 5, he suffered a terrible accident. The boy was struck by a ball on the head. Not just any ball, a demolition ball. A demolition ball is a big ball that they use to knock down buildings. I think that would do more than her, don't you?
Yes.
As balls go, this had to be one of the biggest and heaviest there is. After all, it is made of steel and swung from a crane to destroy buildings. Bish, bash, bosh. Being a child whose fate it was to become a maths teacher, it will not surprise you to learn that Master Pett had no time for toys or games or anything that might be considered fun. No, this mathematician-loving child filled these days with times tables, prime numbers, fractions, quadratic equations, trigonometry, and, for most of us normal folk, the absolutely dreaded long division. In some countries, long division is actually a form of torture. No, not long division, anything but long division, I'll confess. One rainy afternoon, Master Pett was on his way home from school's maths club. Maths club was the world's most boring after-school club.
How?
Yes! Master Pett was, in fact, the only member. I think I would go. Do you think I would go? Maths club?
Yes.
Yeah. Other strong contenders for the world's most boring after-school club are Punctuation Club, Standing in a Puddle Society. Standing in a Puddle Society, that sounds like a very boring club. Basket Weaving for Beginners, Train Spotters Anonymous, Sitting in the Dark Society, Staring at a Blank Wall Club, Traffic Cone Appreciation Society, Latin.
Latin's amazing.
Latin. In the maths club, Master Pett had just been learning all the pi, also known as pi or 3.4. Pi is even more boring than it sounds. and it sounds chasmatically boring. It is the mathematical constant, the ratio of circle's circumference to its diameter. Are you sleepy yet?
Yeah.
If so, then good night. If not, read on.
Nice.
I confess I had to look up as I spent all my time in maths daydreaming about cake.
Oh.
So pie is quite
That's
important, and
basically
you need it to sort out yourself. But anyway, you learn that a little bit later in school.
Pie.
When Master Pett spotted a huge steel ball, he was eager to put to the test this whole circumference diameter nonsense. As he fumbled in his pencil case for his ruler, he failed to see that this huge steel ball was, in fact, swinging straight towards him at speed. Whoosh! It was meant to destroy an old block of flats that was standing right behind him. Instead, it struck the boy on the head hard. Really hard. Clonk.
Did he die?
Master Pett was knocked out cold. That was just as well as the ball battered him into the air. Goof. He flew, interestingly enough, exactly 3.14 miles before smashing through the roof of a shed in the back garden. Smash, crunch, doof. Big clonk.
Big loss. Bang.
I think it's definitely going to hurt, isn't it? Poor Mr. Pett. Master Pett didn't wake up until a whole week later. He discovered he was in a hospital with an incredibly sore, bandaged head. Ouch! He yelled, my head hurts. The boy had to keep the bandage on for 6 whole months and looked as if he were wearing a nappy on his head. Ha nappy boy! Laughed the other kids. Harumph. He harumphed. Ever since that fateful day of his accident, Pett detested balls of any kind. The sight of anything round was enough to bring back that terrible memories of that great big steel ball clonk. So when he grew up and became a maths teacher, Mr. Pett was dismayed to find that in St. Aub's school, where he taught, there were balls, and more balls. Each one reminding him of the worst day of his life. Balls here, balls there, balls everywhere. In the playground, footballs, tennis balls, even ping pong balls, which bounced at him from every angle. Boing, boing, boing. On spotting one, his eyes would all pop out of their sockets. His face would go a shade of purple, his glasses would steam up, his comb-over would stick up on end. Balls, Mr. Pett would shout as he foamed at the mouth. The teacher's hatred was so great that he stuck warning signs all over, on every wall, door and window. He even stuck one on the dinner lady's bottom. No balls allowed in the playground. No balls whatsoever within 100-mile radius of the school. There's one here, as you can see, on a picture of the...
I can read the
So they stuck it on the dinner lady's bottom. Mr. Pett would confiscate all balls on the spot. Then he would lock them up in a very special ball cupboard at the end of a long corridor next to his classroom. The sign read, "Ball cupboard, beware, contains balls." Over the years, Mr. Pett stuffed hundreds and hundreds of balls of all sizes in there, and there was hardly any room for more. If any pupil dared to ask him, "Please, can I have my ball back, sir?" the teacher would smirk to himself before replying, "Of course, child. Thank you, sir. Just one moment, if you please." Then he would reach into the cupboard for the ball and pop it with a pair of compasses he had concealed in his hand. The air would spurt out like a lazy bottom burp. I'll explain that to you. One of those bottom burps, that is, in no hurry to leave. It seeps out over a period of seconds, minutes, hours, days, months, or even extreme cases, years. These ones are hard to blame on others. Short, sharp ones have an element of surprise, and a dirty look at someone close by is enough to deflect blame, so a close friend informs me. There you are, Mr. Pett would say, as he handed the deflated ball back to the child with a grin. After he finally confiscated every single last ball from every child in the school, Mr. Pett went further. Now anything spherical was on his hit list. The teacher stalked up and down the school, confiscating everything that was round. Marbles, balls, these are mine. A space hopper from under a pupil boying. Balls, that is confiscated. These deflated balls.
Yep. Deflated. Deflated.
A gobstopper from the mouth of the gardener. Balls, spit that out. The globe from the geography classroom. Balls are forbidden on school premises. A suspicious-looking pea from the dinner hall. Balls, that pea could have somebody's eye out. A string of pearls from round the neck of the headmistress, Mrs. Stade. Balls, headmistress, balls. All of you people should know better. Balls. It was a confiscating cavalcade. Pett went on a roll, which was odd for someone who hated anything that rolled. Things came to a head the day a boy named Ronald happened to have a rather round head, faced the full force of Mr. Pett's fury. Balls, the global shape of your head is in contravention of the school rules. What's he going to do with the boy's head?
I don't know.
But, sir, protested Roland, it is not my fault that my head is round. I was born this way. No buts, boy. You and your head are confiscated. With that, Mr. Pett picked up the boy, tucked him under his arm, and marched off down the school corridor before stuffing him in the
Ball cupboard.
In the cupboard. Squish, squash, squeeze, bolt. Knock, knock, knock. Let me out, cried the boy.
Who does
Please, I have exams. Not until your head changes to a squarer shape. Balls. Needless to say, this was the tipping point for the pupils at St. Aub's. With their friend Roland still stuck in the cupboard, they were now furious with Mr. Pett. It was impossible to live under this tyranny a day longer.
Yeah, but that means
The most rebellious of all pupils was a girl named, as luck would have it, Rebel. Rebel who lived up to her name, was an individual with her individual take on school uniform. Hair scrunches, skinny tie, pop boot badges, short blazer, graffiti on school bag, colourful socks, puffy skirt, chunky shoes.
yeah, she does sound
Decided to hold a secret meeting of all the kids at the school. No teachers allowed. During a lesson, Rebel whispered to her best friend's ear, "Everyone meet after school in the park. Pass it on." Those are rebels in there.
Hello there, Rebel.
Now, I'm going to leave it there, and we will not know what happens to Rebel until tomorrow. Thank you, Grace.